All right, let's start, guys. Welcome to this YouTube live. When when I say that clearing prelims 2024 is easy, सबसे पहले इस easy का मतलब समझ लेते हैं. Easy का मतलब ऐसे नहीं that you will be able to clear the prelims exam very easily. मतलब पढ़ा वढ़ा कुछ नहीं, ना स्टैटिक बुक्स पढ़े, ना करंट अफेयर्स पढ़ा, ना मॉक टेस्ट दिए, चले गए एग्जाम देने और क्लियर हो गए. That won't happen. Here, easy means something else. Here, clearing prelims 2024 easily means that you will be able to clear the prelims exam, or the chances of you clearing the prelims exam are 100 times more, 100 times higher if we are following the right approach. So that is what easy means here. Okay, so telling this in the beginning is very important. Fine. Guys, now I won't mention about myself as being a senior faculty or how many rankers I have mentored and so on. I just want to emphasize on two things in today's YouTube live. First, I have cleared 6 prelims with a comfortable margin every time. So in those days when I used to be a civil services aspirant, just like you guys, fine. So I had the same thought processes. I faced the same challenges that you guys face today. And later on, after that phase was over, phase of being a student, then today here I am being a faculty, being a mentor at Civilsdaily. And in this process, roughly 10 years of my journey of dealing with prelims exam, first being an aspirant, clearing it back to back, then helping students clear their prelims exam. I have helped thousands others in this long and arduous journey. Guys, I sincerely wish all my students to clear prelims with a comfortable margin. Like when I say students, it's not just those students who are part of my program, but you guys who are watching it live on YouTube, or who may watch it later on YouTube. Because I know that you guys put a lot of sincere efforts. I speak to students on a daily basis. Many students ping me on Telegram. Many students speak to me on phone. Sometimes they even cry, guys. Like I've experienced this even through my days when I was an aspirant. I've seen my friends failing prelims year after year. But it's a different thing that later they cleared the exam, they bagged a rank. But the pain with which they went was very real. And the pain which students go and the pain that they share with me on a daily basis is also very real. And I can relate to that. So that's why I say, guys, I sincerely wish that all you guys, all my students and all you guys clear prelims with a comfortable margin. Now, clearing prelims with a comfortable margin is important, but why am I emphasizing clearing prelims with a comfortable margin? Like first, as I said, clearing prelims is a big pain for many students. We have seen, and I also gave example of my friends who were not able to clear prelims. Later, they were able to bag good ranks, IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, and so on. So there is something very dicey, something unseen about UPSC prelims that many students fail to see or are misguided. So today we'll try to bust all the myths around UPSC prelims and take you guys a step closer to clearing the prelims 2024 exam. Now, when I say clearing it with a comfortable margin is important, here is the reason. Guys, like when I was a student and today when I mentor students, every year it so happens that when the examination is over and marks of the students, if those marks are on the margin, very much on the margin, the next 2, 3, 4 months are spent in speculation, in thinking whether we will be clearing the cutoff or not. And however hard we try, at the end, we are human beings and we get distracted, we get anxious if our score is very much on the margin. So that is the reason, although prelims is the qualifying examination, still I keep emphasizing on the fact that clearing it with a comfortable margin is important so that we can put our best efforts for the mains exam, the next step in the civil services examination. So that's the why part, why it is important to clear the prelims exam with a comfortable margin. Now, guys, coming to the main agenda, introspection. Now, when we say that clearing prelims is easy, we need a lot of introspection. And when we go for introspection, guys, please be ready to be offended. Please be ready to be offended because a few things that I might say, many of you or some of you might not agree with it, guys, but I need to speak the truth. So anyways, I will be sharing these things with you. And I can see many students are joining in through the YouTube live chat box. Yes, good evening, guys. Good evening. Just drop your inputs, if any. I'll try to answer them during this live itself. Fine, guys. Quickly moving ahead. First and foremost thing, PYQ anchoring. Now, what is PYQ anchoring? How have I been doing it during my student days, and how have I been doing it while I'm mentoring students to clear this exam, prelims specifically? Guys, when I used to prepare for the prelims exam, my conception in those days was that 5 to 10 years of prelims questions are sufficient as far as replication of questions is concerned. There are many questions which get either directly or indirectly replicated in the upcoming exams. So in those days, like roughly till 2019 and 2020 even, 5 to 10 years of PYQ anchoring was sufficient for replication of questions or mastering those replication of questions, and to ensure that if a question is being replicated from those number of years, we don't get it wrong. But now, guys, now as the paper pattern has been changing 2021, 22, 23, and more so 2020, 2023 more so, we have observed that 10 years of PYQ anchoring is not sufficient as far as question replication is concerned. We need to go as back as 25 years. That is quite clear. That what we have observed and understood over the years. And now this was about question replication. 5 years of PYQs are important for structure and language replication. Now, guys, please, let's make this differentiation. Let's not get confused between replication of questions and replication of language and structure. Now, we'll be speaking about this in detail in some time, but just to give you an example, earlier, many students used to have this conception that if a question has all, if a question has none, then it will be definitely right or it will be definitely wrong. कहाँ से आया ये understanding? This understanding came from learning the patterns that is being followed across the prelims papers. Fine. So structure of the questions and language very much gets replicated. But here we need to go only as far back as 5 years, not 25 years, just like the earlier category we have discussed, where questions as such, topics as such, or themes get replicated. So this important differentiation. We'll learn about this more in detail in a moment. Again, to elaborate a bit more on PYQ anchoring, guys, PYQ anchoring or PYQ analysis is very important. There is no second thought about it. But guys, please pay attention to the fact that PYQ anchoring doesn't mean endless research on PYQs. Now, guys, I've seen this trend among many students, and I won't name them, but I've also seen this trend in many self-proclaimed prelims gurus on YouTube, where they are professing and asking students to go on and on, on and on, on and on, doing research on past year questions. And that research is so bulky that the students are creating their own bulky books out of those PYQs. In short, they are doing PhDs, and those so-called prelims gurus are taking benefit of the fact that everyone knows, like students know, that PYQs are very important, and indeed they are very important. But there has to be a limit to it. You need to do it in a very methodical manner, in a very rule-based manner. Say, for example, here, as I've shown on your screen, level 1 and level 2. Guys, level 1 analysis, level 2 analysis, this is something that you can do on individual level. Now, I'll describe this in a moment. Abhi sirf sun lo. And when it comes to level 3 and level 4 analysis, it will be very difficult to do on an individual level. You need to do it in a group of serious candidates, serious aspirants, or you need to be doing this with a mentor, either of the two cases. So ऐसा नहीं है कि PYQ analysis or PYQ anchoring or using PYQs for preparing for the upcoming exam or predicting upcoming questions. ऐसा नहीं है कि it can be done only under a program. Now, you can do it on your own as well. But as the levels go on advancing, guys, you need help in the sense of having a good friend circle, having a good serious group or a mentor. And one more important thing, guys, you need to follow bottom-up approach when it comes to PYQ anchoring. Now, what is bottom-up approach? Again, guys, I have seen this trend that some people or some YouTubers tend to give these directions कि ऐसे ऐसे तुम PYQs को analyze करो, PYQs पर research करो, and that's it. काम खत्म. PYQ anchoring and PYQ analysis can never be done in a top-down manner. In fact, it's the quite opposite. Say, for example, last year and this year, when I have been running my program, although I am not going to mention anything about my program, just for your understanding sake, when I run my program, it's not just me giving directives. I have an entire team doing this PYQ anchoring stuff. I don't stop there. There are the third component of this troika is the students. I take inputs from the students. So students से input लेते हैं, team से input लेते हैं, मैं input देता हूं, and then that particular document or that particular class is created where I interact with students on Zoom in real time. Fine. So again, bottom-up approach, it has to be a collective exercise. Otherwise, top-down approach or by doing endless research on PYQs, we won't go anywhere. And a very important piece of information. Guys, now let me explain to you what I mean by doing it methodically or by doing it systematically, or what I mean by not doing PYQ anchoring in a very endless manner. PhD nahi karna hai. This is an example, guys. Now, this was a question on your left side of your screen. This was a question asked in 2021. And we used PYQ anchoring level 1 सबसे पहले किया, then level 2, level 3, level 4. But here, level 2 gave us the correct answer. On the right side, we have another question asked in the next year, that is in 2022. What we did, we asked the right questions. Level 1 gets directly replicated. यहाँ पर level 1 का सवाल खड़ा नहीं होता because protozoa, fungus and cnidarians directly replicate होकर किस तरह से होंगे. यहाँ पर level 2 analysis ही ज्यादा relevant है. We asked this question कि when the question said that this particular organism or these organisms have symbiotic relationship with which other organisms, then we ask the question with whom. Fungus has this particular relationship, symbiotic relationship with whom, with which organism. So this is yet another screenshot on your screen जहां पर कर्सर दिख रहा है. बेसिक लेवल का रिसर्च किया लेवल 2 पर fungi symbiotic relationship examples, and we got many results, but we derived one learning. Many results, but one learning. What was that learning? that Atine ants are known as the largest cultivators of fungi. And in the very next year, we had this direct question: certain species of which of the following organisms are known as well-known cultivators of fungi? And the obvious answer was ant. So guys, this is PYQ anchoring जो हमने level 2 पर किया है. One more example. Now this is a screen grab from my class. This question on your left hand side was asked in 2021, and the question was on lemongrass. The question was on lemongrass. We did PYQ anchoring level 1, PYQ anchoring level 2, PYQ anchoring level 3, and level 4. Now, as you can see on your screen, let me just zoom in a bit. Guys, when we moved to PYQ anchoring level 3, the question was on lemongrass, and lemongrass is used against mosquitoes, or it is a means of mosquito control. So moving a step ahead, we went to level 3 anchoring and we asked this question to ourselves: what are the other technologies, or what are the new emerging technologies that are used to prevent mosquito-borne diseases? And you can see the students in this class are listening and watching this particular class live quite attentively. And one of the technologies that we discussed in the class was Wolbachia. As you can read on your screen, mosquito control using bacteria. Bacterium Wolbachia can reduce the ability of mosquitoes to transmit diseases. Guys, in 2023, we had a direct question on Wolbachia method. Now, I haven't put that particular question on the screen, but everyone among you must be knowing that a direct question on Wolbachia method was asked. So we were able to predict it based on PYQ anchoring level 3. Now coming to the main point, guys, coming back to the main point, as I mentioned in the beginning, we can't go on and on with endless research on PYQs. We need to do it in a more methodical manner, rule-based manner. We saw an example of level 2 PYQ anchoring and how it helped in the exam. We saw an example of level 3 PYQ anchoring and how it's helped in the exam. Let's see an example of PYQ level 4 anchoring. PYQ anchoring level 4. Now, guys, this is the highest level of anchoring or highest level of PYQ analysis that anyone can do. There is no fifth level of PYQ anchoring, because after level 4, the cost to benefit ratio becomes very poor. I'll give an example through this question. In 2021, there was a question on magnetite particles. Fine. Then we asked some basic questions. What are you? And what is your relevance? Have you been in news for some reason? And so on. We asked it relevant questions. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 analysis हमने किया. At level 4, we came to know that magnetite particles are nothing but another variants of the nanoparticles. Magnetite particles are nothing but nanoscale particles. Fine. Now this articles I have taken from BBC, but these are available on lot many other sources. So our learning after PYQ level 4 anchoring was magnetite particles are nanoscale particles and they occur naturally in human brain, in the nature, and so on. Now, guys, let me zoom in on this question. This was asked in 2022. A direct question: other than those made by humans, nanoparticles do not exist in the nature. We could eliminate it pretty directly based on our PYQ anchoring level 4. And the other questions were relatively easy to solve. The other statements were relatively easy to mark. So level 2 we have discussed, level 3, level 4. Level 1 we haven't discussed because that's pretty straightforward. Level 1 basically ये बोलता है, if a question has been asked, if a keyword has been asked, next year or probably in the upcoming years, that keyword can be used. Probably पहले ऑप्शन में पूछा होगा, अब पूरा की पूरा उसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन क्रिएट हो जाएगा. So that's level 1. No endless research on PYQs. Fine, guys. I hope everyone is clear so far. Okay. Guys, I'll take many of your questions. As Nitya is saying, Sir, I'm wrong to think that PYQ analysis I should start from 2015 instead of going backwards from 2023. No, Nitya, PYQ anchoring for question replication, just as we have discussed, 25 years karna padega. That's our observation from the past few years prelims papers. Fine? Okay, fine. तरुण एंड्स वाला इज टू रैंडम. तरुण रैंडम ही लगेगा जब तक खुद नहीं करोगे. फाइन. खुद जब प्रैक्टिस करोगे देन you'll be able to make out those connects. Okay, guys, let's quickly move ahead. We have discussed about PYQ anchoring, importance of PYQ anchoring. Next, again taking help from PYQs, I am making another important and probably slightly controversial statement, suggestion. No newspapers are to be used for your prelims preparation. Now I know guys, many students have this habit of using newspapers, referring newspapers on a daily basis. But if you observe the past year prelims papers, cost to benefit ratio of referring to newspapers is very poor in the prelims paper. And at the end, guys, at the end, कितना भी current affairs हम prepare कर लें, at the end, roughly 50% क्वेश्चंस ही हम सॉल्व कर पाएंगे बेस्ड ऑन आवर कवरेज ऑफ करंट अफेयर्स. 50% भी मैं थोड़ा सा एस्पिरेशनल फिगर बोल रहा हूं, 50% से कम ही कर पाएंगे. द रेस्ट ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस एमिनेटिंग फ्रॉम करंट अफेयर्स हमको टैक्टिकल पेपर सॉल्विंग अप्रोच, कॉमन सेंस, लॉजिक और सम एलिमिनेशन यूज करके करना पड़ेगा. से फॉर एग्जांपल, व्हेन आई गेव दिस पेपर इन 2020, मैंने जब 2020 में ये पेपर दिया था, there was a direct question on Lisa, and I had read it in the current affairs. I was able to mark it quite easily. But in the same year, 2020 mein hi, there was this question on Kisan Credit Card Scheme. Now this was a question on schemes, but also Kisan Credit Card was into news, and I had not followed Kisan Credit Card in news. So I went through the statements. I didn't know much about Kisan Credit Card. Basic level पर पता था. But when I came to statement 5, it said construction of family house and setting up of village cold storage facility. And the keyword here is short-term credit. Guys, short-term credit से family house build नहीं हो सकता. It's very commonsensical. Everyone knows that family house बनाने के लिए और for building house, we need a long-term credit. And that credit can last as long as 20, 25, even 30 years. We know this. I eliminated statement 5 and I got a direct answer. Option B, 1, 3, and 4. So again, two examples from 2022. One answer I knew for sure because I had covered it in current affairs. Another I did not know, but I had to derive it then and there. मैं ऐसा नहीं बोल सकता था कि मैंने ये पढ़ा नहीं इसलिए मैं इसको skip कर दूंगा. Then I would be putting myself at risk of getting lower marks. My primary duty was to at least first read the question, and after reading the question, I could derive the correct answer. So no newspapers, only current affairs magazines. Now let me give you an example from 2023. ये वाला example जो हमने देखा, this was my own example 2020 में जो मैंने experience किया था. Guys, from 2023, the question on the left hand side, question number 94, there were two statements. Israel has established diplomatic relations with some Arab states, and the Arab Peace Initiative mediated by Saudi Arabia was signed by Israel and Arab League. Relatively, this was an easier question, guys. This particular aspect of international relations was into news, and as serious civil services aspirants, we were expected to know these two statements. So option C was obviously the correct answer. Relatively quite easy. Majority of the students had covered it in current affairs. But again, in the very same year, 2023 May, there was this question. Again, this was part of current affairs, like World Water Development Report 2022. But hardly any student had read World Water Development Report 2022, or hardly anyone had gone into details of what that particular report said. But although this question was from current affairs, you needed to apply your tactical mind, some logic. Here, when statement 2 says India needs to extract more than a quarter of world's groundwater each year, to satisfy the drinking water and sanitation needs of almost 18% of world's population living its territory. Guys, this statement is quite counterintuitive when we know, I also discussed this in my previous class, we know that majority consumption of water in India is done by the agriculture sector, irrigation, be it surface water or be it groundwater. Majority consumption, like roughly 90% of the consumption is done by the primary sector, agriculture sector. So statement 2 cannot be correct in any case. Like India cannot extract 20% of world's groundwater primarily for its drinking water purposes. That's just not possible. So we eliminate statement 2, and if we eliminate statement 2, we get option C as the direct answer. So again, two examples from 2023. One question that was into news and easily solvable. Another question was also in news, but hardly covered by any student, but could be solved using your rational mind, logical mind, and by using tactical paper solving ability. So I come back to my main point. No newspapers, no wasting of time in reading newspapers. Covering monthly current affairs magazines is more than sufficient for our current affairs section. And as we have discussed, even then, roughly 50% questions ही हम कर पाएंगे पेपर में using our current affairs preparation. बाकी हमको दिमाग लगा के then and there we'll have to derive the correct answer. Okay. Fine, let's move quickly. Okay, Ranjit is saying from recent past 25 years is a must. Yes, Ranjit, that's what we are discussing. Quickly, guys, let's move ahead. Number of tests. Number of tests. How many number of tests should we be attempting? So, guys, my suggestion to the students is always attempting somewhere between 40, 50 to 60. This is the golden mean of the number of tests that we need to be solving. When I was an aspirant, I used to see many of my friends solving 100 tests, more than 100 tests, 100 tests. 150 200 टेस्ट सॉल्व कर रहे हैं, पता नहीं कैसे कर पाते थे. लाइक इट वाज नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर मी. मेरी इतनी कैपेसिटी नहीं थी कि मैं 100 150 200 टेस्ट सॉल्व कर पाता और उनको एनालाइज कर पाता. बट दोज पीपल यूज्ड टू डू इट. And guys, many among those could not clear prelims. Many among those also cleared. But one thing I understood, that when they were putting so much time, so much effort behind solving and analyzing too many number of tests, they were compromising something else. So they were compromising their preparation of core static part, revision of core static part, coverage of current affairs, and so on. So avoiding too many tests. Otherwise, जो इमेज यहाँ पर स्क्रीन पर दिख रहा है, दिस इज अस, और हमारे सर पर पूरा वो बोझा रखा हुआ है टेस्ट का, which is unnecessary beyond a certain point. I've also seen another set of friends. जब मेरे friends, हम जब साथ में पढ़ाई करते थे, some students had this conception that we will just give some 4 to 5 tests before the exam and that is sufficient. बाकी टेस्ट की कोई ज्यादा यूटिलिटी है नहीं. गाइस, अगर बहुत कम टेस्ट हम देंगे, हाउ वुड वी लर्न टाइम मैनेजमेंट? हाउ वुड वी लर्न टू अवॉइड सिली मिस्टेक्स इन द एग्जामिनेशन हॉल? हाउ वुड वी लर्न so as to mark the right bubbles on the OMR sheet under time pressure and so on? Tests are a means to our mental conditioning for the real exam. सो एक्सट्रीम्स अवॉइड करना है, बहुत कम भी नहीं देने हैं, लाइक सिर्फ 5 या 10 टेस्ट हम दे रहे हैं. वी हैव टू अवॉइड दैट. ऑल्सो द अनदर एक्सट्रीम, गिविंग 100 और मोर देन 100 टेस्ट हैज टू बी अवॉइडेड because it doesn't help beyond a certain point. To give you another simplistic example, guys, if I go to the gym and I pick a particular exercise and और मैं उस एक्सरसाइज के 4 सेट लगाता हूं, my body will respond. लेकिन उसी एक्सरसाइज के अगर मैं 40 सेट लगाता हूं, माय बॉडी विल स्टॉप रिस्पॉन्डिंग. उल्टा मैं बीमार पड़ सकता हूं बिकॉज ऑफ ओवर एक्सर्शन. सिमिलरली गाइस, our mind also gets fatigued beyond a certain point. So the main point being discussed is limited number of tests are good enough. So guys, quickly moving ahead. Yet another learning from PYQs. We are talking about PYQ anchoring, PYQ aptitude. When we said limited number of tests are important, it is important to understand the difference between tests and PYQs. Even if you are doing a limited number of tests, somewhere around 40, 50 or 60, probably beyond 60 भी कुछ student करते होंगे, probably 30, 40 से थोड़े कम भी करते होंगे. That's fine. That limit is not sacrosanct. But when you are doing PYQs, you need to do it many, many, many times. Now, when I write 5 papers 500 times, please don't take it literally. Literally, matlo. Here I mean that you need to do your past 5 years papers again and again and again. Because as we have discussed earlier, structure and language of PYQs gets repeated a lot. The question might change, the theme might change, but the structure and language doesn't get radically changed over a period of a few years. Say, for example, ये वाला question, this was asked in 2023. Now, this is a very easier and basic question just for your understanding. 3 statements were given, and per se, this question was difficult. But students said that every statement has some microorganisms, some microorganisms, some microorganisms. So, तीनों statements correct होंगे. Although I keep reiterating this, that we can't oversimplify PYQs and questions this way. Context matters. Context. Sirf some aa gaya, all, none. That question doesn't automatically become right or wrong. Still coming back to this question, how are the students able to have this thought process? कि आंसर नहीं पता, some use हुआ है, तो all correct होंगे. This is because students have been following the trend. Trend हर कोई follow करता है, right? But we need to do it in a more meticulous manner. Fine, and this will be understanding in a moment. Quickly moving ahead. Yet another learning and yet another suggestion. Guys, these suggestions are from my learnings and from PYQ anchoring and from observing lots and lots of PYQs. What kind of aptitude we need to develop to solve these questions in the real exam and to prepare for this question before the real exam. So when I say stay connected with either seniors or serious aspirants or mentors, guys, in my student days, like I did not have the luxury of being connected with senior mentors. So I relied on my group of friends or probably some seniors here and there. Whenever I could connect with them, I used to connect with them and take appropriate guidance. Staying connected with seniors, serious aspirants, and mentors is a very important component of your preparation in general and prelims preparation in particular. Say, for example, in this question asked in 2023, there were 3 statements on biofilters. Guys, if you are a fresher, it will be very difficult for you to preempt such a question. कि bio prefix करके कोई question आ सकता है. I have discussed this in my previous class. कि UPSC has been prefixing the word bio, and it has been asking different keywords in different years. That was one learning. Another learning that we discussed in the previous class was statement 3 is counterintuitive. If biofilters increases phosphorus, it cannot be a filter. Basically, phosphorus increase अगर होता है किसी water body में, it leads to eutrophication. And if something leads to eutrophication, it cannot be called a filter. It is creating nuisance rather than being a filter. So guys, this kind of thought process gets developed over a period of time, or if you are in the company of serious aspirants, or if you have the company of senior aspirants, or if you can be in touch with mentors who have experience. And guys, when I say be in touch, if you can't be in touch physically, at least try to be in touch either on WhatsApp or Telegram. Again, here I don't mean Telegram channels. Guys, Telegram channels are not interactive at all. That is more of a one-way interaction. Broadcasting होती है वहां पर. You cannot ask questions, you cannot take inputs, you cannot speak with other students. So have groups, either Telegram groups or WhatsApp group. अगर नहीं है तो come to my Telegram group. It's free, it's open to all. You can have constructive discussions over there. Next very important learning, guys, and this is very very important. जिस तरह से पेपर इवॉल्व हो रहा है, this learning holds large amount of importance. Your first 5 minutes in the examination hall after you get your paper should be your shock absorbers. मतलब सबसे पहले पेपर मिल गया, फर्स्ट 5 मिनट्स कंपल्सरीली हमको पेपर को ग्लांस करना है, so as to get a bird's eye view of the paper. Say for example, when I gave this paper in 2019, I glanced at this question. Although this question was not difficult per se, but उस मोमेंट में मुझे ये डिफिकल्ट लगा क्योंकि I hadn't read about this particular term microbeads. I left this question in the first round. Then when in the second round I came back to this question, अचानक से ये क्वेश्चन मुझे काफी आसान लगा because I had read about pollution, marine pollution. Also, I had watched some short films on marine pollution. I could connect, although I didn't know the answer for sure, but I could connect and mark it. Initially, this question I found it difficult, but in the second round, it was quite doable for me. ये कैसे कर पाया मैं in 2019? Because in the first 5 minutes, I just glanced at the paper and I could mark out which questions are in my range, which I can do in the very first iteration, in the very first round. Taking a recent example, this question was asked in 2023. Guys, यहाँ पर goodbye लिखा हुआ है, but I am not saying goodbye. उस पर आता हूं मैं. Why I have put this here? 2023 में इस फॉर्मेट पर there were more than 50 questions. How many of the above are constitutional bodies, or how many of the above statements are correct? How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? जब स्टूडेंट्स ने लीनियरली पेपर सॉल्व करना शुरू किया, they found there are endless number of questions, like more than 50 questions with this pattern. How many of the above statements are correct? How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? And the students got very anxious, very anxious. On the contrary, there were another set of students जिन्होंने ये प्रैक्टिस फॉलो की पहले 5 मिनट में पेपर को ग्लांस करने की. एंड जब उन्होंने ग्लांस किया, इवन दे वर अफ्रेड. ऐसा नहीं है कि जिन्होंने पहले ग्लांस किया उनको डर नहीं लगा. इवन दे वर ह्यूमंस, दे वर नॉट रोबोट्स. बट पेपर अटेम्प्ट करने से पहले, पेपर अटेम्प्ट करना शुरू करने से पहले, दे हैड अ ब्रॉड आइडिया कि पेपर का नेचर कैसा है. फाइन. एंड in the initial phase, like many of my students told me that in the initial phase, in the initial first hour, they were relatively more anxious, but in the next 1 hour, they were able to pick up good speed and momentum. So this is the benefit of absorbing that shock in the beginning itself, पहले 5 मिनट में. Fine. Now coming to this question, guys, although this question has that particular format, how many of the above statements are correct, or how many of the above are constitutional bodies? This is a very easy question. This is a very basic question. Statement 1, National Commission for Backward Classes. This is the constitutional body. बाकी की 3 जो है, those are not constitutional bodies. Here it doesn't matter whether UPSC asks this question in this particular format या 4 अलग-अलग statement दे दी थी with other अलग-अलग combinations. 1 only is correct, 1 and 2 are correct, 2 and 3 are correct. तब भी ये क्वेश्चन हमारे लिए आसान होता, because this is a very basic and conceptual question. So the point being made, students who glanced it in the beginning were able to have this idea that because more than 50% questions have this format, questions का difficulty level definitely कम होने वाला है. Because if all the questions having this format would be very tough, the cutoff would be going down on a spiraling slope. So 5 minutes have to be used, initial 5 minutes, to absorb shock. And guys, please mark my words. Please mark my words. UPSC will keep shocking you. Now, आप में से कोई जो नए फ्रेशर्स हैं या फिर 2 या 3 साल या 4 साल से अटेम्प्ट दे रहे हैं, you must be observing the shocks UPSC has been giving. But I have been observing the shocks UPSC has been giving for the last 10 years. जब मैं एग्जाम दिया करता था और अब जब मैं मेंटोर करता हूं स्टूडेंट्स को, फॉर एग्जांपल 2016 में यूपीएससी ने अचानक से करंट अफेयर्स पर एम्फोसिस ज्यादा डाल दिया. इन 2016 द क्वेश्चन पेपर हैड a lot of questions based on current affairs, and there were a lot of questions on one liner format. So after the paper, many students were jokingly discussing ki it looked like a journalism paper because it was so heavily tilted towards current affairs. So 1 year current affairs per emphasis hoga. 1 year probably there will be more emphasis on facts. Then there might be more emphasis another year on concepts and so on. To add one more point, guys, to add one more point, यूपीएससी के पास शॉक देने के बहुत तरीके हैं. से फॉर एग्जांपल, यूपीएससी आस्क्स 100 क्वेश्चंस इन द पेपर, बट यूपीएससी इज नॉट बाउंड टू आस्क ओनली 100 क्वेश्चंस. UPSC is bound to make a question paper of 200 marks. Now that UPSC can do even with 100 questions, 80 questions or 120 questions. So if next year 120 क्वेश्चन आ जाते हैं प्रीलिम्स पेपर में, that means you are expected to solve each question in 30 seconds, right? 120 क्वेश्चन 30 seconds or so. वी कांट से दैट यूपीएससी ने इस तरह से कैसे एकदम से पैटर्न चेंज कर दिया. यूपीएससी कैन डू सो. It is our responsibility to be better prepared and be better cognizant. So here, absorbing the shock is very important, and I'll be discussing this ahead as well. Those students among us, हम में से जो लोग shock absorb कर पाएंगे during those 2 hours will be clearing the exam. Irrespective of the fact हमने बहुत मेहनत की है and everything, अगर हम शॉक एब्जॉर्ब कर पा रहे हैं तब हम क्लियर कर पाएंगे. शॉक एब्जॉर्ब नहीं करेंगे तो आर चांसेस वुड बी ब्लीक. एज सिंपल एज दैट, एंड दिस वुड कम विद प्रैक्टिस गाइस. ये प्रैक्टिस के साथ आएगा. आई हैव बीन डूइंग दिस विद माय स्टूडेंट्स इन द टेस्ट, इन आई विल बी डूइंग दिस इन द अपकमिंग वर्कशॉप्स एंड सो ऑन. क्विकली मूविंग अहेड गाइस, जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया, शॉक एब्जॉर्ब करना है, वी हैव टू स्टे काम. But I know it's very easy to stay calm. It's easy to say to stay calm, but it's not easy to stay calm in the real exam scenario. Ultimately, we are all humans. We are not zombies. We are not robots. Anxiety होती है, डर लगता है, but we should be mindful of the fact that if it's difficult for us to stay calm, it is also difficult for others to stay calm. Here the difference is between relative calm. Relatively कौन ज्यादा calm और composed रह पा रहा है. Now that is one thing. Another thing, guys, many students came out with this assertion that 2023 prelims paper was radically very difficult, and they had a lot of difficulties attempting the paper and so on. And paper was difficult, no second doubts about that. But guys, it is also true that the paper was equally difficult for others. ऐसा नहीं था कि मेरे लिए वो difficult था और आपके लिए आसान था. Guys, here we need to be kind to ourselves, not only in the examination hall but also before the examination and also after the examination. We know the level of sincerity we have put in the preparation. We know the time and efforts we have put. Still, if you find the paper to be very difficult, we should be sure about ourselves. Like we should be confident about ourselves कि मुझे ये difficult लग रहा है, which means majority other students को भी ऐसे ही लग रहा होगा. Fine. Again, this will come with practice, but the rule stands: being calm and being relatively more calm than others. That will give us edge. Next thing, guys, having no preconceived notions. Like having preconceived notions and taking those preconceived notions to the examination hall is like taking a baggage full of stuff with us in the examination hall. But when that paper comes before us, वो डब्बा खुल जाता है. उन preconceived notions का घड़ा कुछ इस तरह से फूटता है. As you can see on the screen, we get shocked because we had some other ideas in our mind. Probably environment पर ज्यादा क्वेश्चन हो गए क्योंकि IFS एग्जाम का प्रीलिम्स कॉमन होता है सिविल सर्विसेज एग्जाम, और आईएफएस कॉमन होता है. ऑल्सो वी हैव मेनी सच अदर मिसकंसेप्शंस. एक मिसकंसेप्शन ये था इन द 2023 एग्जामिनेशन, जब 2023 के पेपर के लिए स्टूडेंट जा रहे थे, दे हैड दिस कंसेप्शन कि 2022 मतलब पिछले साल यूपीएससी हैड आस्क्ड 8 क्वेश्चन ऑन दैट फॉर्मेट, हाउ मेनी ऑफ द अबव स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट. और स्टूडेंट्स ये सोचकर एग्जाम हॉल में गए थे कि इस फॉर्मेट पर जो भी क्वेश्चन आएंगे हम उसको स्किप कर देंगे. लेकिन हुआ क्या, मोर देन 50% क्वेश्चंस वर ऑन दैट फॉर्मेट. कैसे स्किप करेंगे, वी कांट इग्नोर दोस क्वेश्चंस. सो बिग शॉक. So guys, it's very important to not have preconceived notions, and this is something taught in the martial arts classes. Like if you are dealing with an opponent who has the knack of giving surprises, you cannot predict his moves, then you are asked to clear your mind. Only when you clear your mind, you will be better able to deal with your opponent in real time. But if you have some pre-existing notions that the opponent will be having these moves or those moves, it will be very difficult to tackle him in real time. And here in our case, guys, UPSC is our opponent, which will always try to surprise us in the examination hall. All right, guys, quickly moving ahead. As I can see, many of you have been dropping inputs. Devesh, Sony, Rohan. Fine, guys. Let's quickly move ahead. If there are any more inputs, doubts, let me know. I'll try to take those while I speak. Guys, yet another important learning from the PYQs that we have learned, that we have observed, is we should not be solving paper in a linear fashion, and we should be doing minimum 2 iterations or 2 rounds. What does this mean? Now guys, some students have this habit of starting with question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to question number 100. Now what is the hazard? What is the hazard in following a linear format? Now some students might say that ultimately all questions have to be read. Ultimately all questions have to be attempted or left. So how does it matter? What makes the difference? Guys, first thing, in general, we have observed that initial questions in the paper are difficult. यूपीएससी जानबूझकर शुरुआत में अक्सर डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन रखती है, both in paper 1 and in CSAT, so as to bog us down in the examination hall. UPSC is on a constant mission to bog us down, to hamper our confidence. That is one thing. Another thing, guys, when we look at an unknown question, and you will be looking at many unknown questions, if you see the format, the pattern as it has evolved in 2022 and 2023, more than 50% of questions will look unknown. Fine. But when we look at it in the second iteration, it appears more doable. Say, for example, when I attempted this question in 2020, I did not know the correct answer. Ocean mean temperature, statement 1, 26 degrees Celsius isotherm, 129 meters southwest Indian Ocean during Jan-March. I had no idea, no clue. Statement 2, still about statement 2, I could take risk. So I left it in the first iteration. Then I came back to this question in the second iteration, and I tried my luck whether I can derive the answer using tactical mind or not. Then when I looked at the statement 1 more closely, it spoke about the depth to be exactly 129 meters and the temperature to be exactly 26 degrees Celsius. I knew for sure, and I had observed this pattern. Whenever UPSC asks arbitrary numbers, it is more likely to be wrong. It is most likely to be wrong. I knew this. I had observed this pattern in the PYQs. So I took risk. I eliminated statement 1. I marked statement 2, option B, and that was the correct answer. Guys, if I did solve this paper in a linear fashion, there was very high probability that I would mark this question wrong. But because I came back to this question in the second iteration, this question appeared more doable to me. And by the time we come back to this question, guys, in the second hour of our preparation, our mind starts working in at a higher speed, like just like the electron jumps in a higher orbit. Our minds also start working in the higher orbit as time goes on in the examination hall. Similarly, a question that was asked in 2023, 7th August is declared as National Handloom Day. Guys, generally ये कोई पढ़ के नहीं जाता. National Handloom Day कब मनाया जाता है and all. Generally no one reads this or studies this. स्टेट पीसीएस की एग्जाम की बात और हो सकती है, लेकिन सिविल सर्विसेज एग्जामिनेशन में ये कोई नहीं पढ़ता. फर्स्ट राउंड में मेरे स्टूडेंट्स ने ये छोड़ दिया, बट व्हेन दे केम बैक टू दिस क्वेश्चन, they tried to find out if they could derive the correct answer by using their tactical mind. And they found out that statement 1 and statement 2 are very much compatible with each other, because statement 1 said 7th August is declared as the National Handloom Day, and statement 2 said it was in 1905 that the Swadeshi movement was launched on the same day. So Swadeshi movement, we have this pre-existing knowledge that Swadeshi movement is intimately linked with khadi, handloom, locally made stuff. So it was highly possible, it is highly possible that if a particular day is being celebrated as National Handloom Day, it could be on the same day when Swadeshi movement was launched. My students didn't know the correct answer, but they could make this connect in the examination hall. They took risk and they marked option A. Many among those students could mark the correct answer, option A. So guys, again, just to reiterate very quickly, not solving the paper in a linear fashion and doing minimum 2 iterations. Second iteration में the same question appears more doable, जो शुरुआत के 1 घंटे में undoable लग रहा था. I hope guys, everyone is clear so far. I hope everyone is following me in the YouTube chat box. Fine, guys. Let's quickly move ahead. Guys, when we speak about taking risk and using our creative mind, our tactical mind, it is very important that we should be prepared for marking the wrong answers. Now, this might sound a bit counterintuitive. Like, why am I saying you to be ready to mark wrong answers? Ultimately, we attempt the paper to mark as many right answers as possible. Ultimately, paper clear करना है हमको, right? But guys, if we don't have the readiness to mark the wrong answers, we won't be able to mark many of the right answers as well. समझाता हूँ कैसे. Say for example, when I gave this paper in 2020, I had no idea about what is parivrajak or what is upasak, but I knew basic details of Shramana or Shramana tradition. It could never be related to a priest with high status. So in the examination hall, I was able to eliminate statement 2 and mark option B as a direct answer, because only option B did not have statement 2 or pair 2. Similarly, in 2023, but when I marked this answer, there were high chances, there was all probability of myself going wrong, because my logic could very well go wrong. It went wrong in many questions, right? Like I can't claim to be have
जैसे
I can't claim to have
आपने
solved.
आपने मुझे मॉर्निंग में भेजा टॉपिक कि
Uh,
आर्टिकल लिखना है और आपको पैसे मिलेंगे, तो
Pranshu, please mute yourself.
आप जाके किसी वेबसाइट के लिए लिखोगे ना, आप उन्हें कुछ लिख
Pranshu,
के दे दोगे
can you
कि
mute
कर दो,
yourself?
आपको पैसे देंगे और वो अपने
Yeah, please keep yourself muted. Okay. So I could very well go wrong, as I went wrong in few other questions. Similarly, in 2023, this particular question was asked. There were 2 statements. Statement 1, one of the standard sizes of the national flag of India is 600 mm into 400 mm. And statement 2, the ratio of the length to the height of the flag shall be 3:2. Now guys, पिछले question में we used compatibility test. यहाँ पे statement 1 and statement 2 were very much compatible, so we marked it. But here they appear even more compatible. like ratio of 3:2, and statement 1 बोल रहा है 600 into 400 mm. They match quite a lot. In the examination hall, we are expected to mark option A, although we are marking the wrong answer. The right answer in this case is option D. Because if in this question we are not showing the guts, अगर हम guts नहीं बता रहे हैं to mark option A as our answer, then we won't be able to show guts in this question as well to mark the right answer. Ultimately, marking more right answers and less wrong answers is something that will give us edge in the real examination. But again, to reiterate myself, we need to have that preparation, that readiness to be marking wrong answers in the examination hall. Okay, Devesh is saying I had taught the middle approach. Matlab, I think Devesh, you're talking about the center stage approach. Fine, Devesh, you're right, but we don't have time to discuss center stage approach in this session. Otherwise, the session will get stressed a lot. Class में हम discuss करेंगे center stage phenomenon and how it is applicable to the current pattern of the paper. Fine, guys, we are coming to the end. We are coming to the end of the session, and there are a few more learnings to be derived. I've mentioned here that elimination, logic, common sense will always be part of your life. Now, guys, this appears to be a very mundane sentence. मैं ये क्यों लिख रहा हूँ? Like you would say, sir, ये क्यों बोल रहे हैं? तो बहुत common sensical बात है. Elimination, logical reasoning, common sense तो हमेशा हमारे साथ होता ही है. But guys, there are a lot of misconceptions, misunderstandings, and as I said in the beginning, many self-proclaimed prelims gurus who keep on professing that elimination has been eliminated, that logical paper solving has no relevance in the exam, that common sense has no relevance in the exam. Guys, before we come to this question, why I say that elimination, logic, or common sense are not only part of your exam, but also part of your everyday life. So, for example, when serious aspirants meet, many times they have this conversation. Let's have this particular person in our group because he's a very serious aspirant. Let's not have that particular boy or girl because he or she is not that serious. So you are eliminating that particular friend, that particular boy or girl. You are eliminating logic. Guys, when you go out on the road, either on the bike or using your four-wheeler, you use your seat belt or you use your helmet. Why? It's quite logical. It's to help, it's to protect yourself in case of an accident. It's a very logical decision that you do, that you make on a daily basis. Common sense. Similarly, guys, common sensical decisions हम daily basis पर करते हैं. Now, one common sensical thing that you guys are doing is that you are watching this session on PYQ aptitude because you know that PYQ aptitude is very much important. Solely relying on bookish knowledge is no more helping in the prelims exam. Now coming to the question, बहुत हो गई real life examples की बात है. Let's come to this question. 2023 में ये question पूछा गया था guys. There were two statements. The Constitution Day is celebrated on 26th November every year to promote constitutional values among citizens. And statement 2, on 26th November 1949, Constituent Assembly of India set up a drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar to prepare a draft Constitution of India. Guys, many students did not have a clue about statement 1. Ki Constitution Day is celebrated on 26th November or not. But guys, it is very commonsensical to say because we have read modern history, we have read polity, we have read about evolution of Indian Constitution, and we know that on 26th of November 1949, the Constitution was adopted. So it is not at all possible that on this very day, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar would be appointed as the chairman of the drafting committee or committee under Yeah, chairman of the drafting committee. It's just not possible. It has to be done prior to that particular date. So we are eliminating statement 2, right? हम eliminate ही तो कर रहे हैं because 26 नवंबर 1949 को ये कमेटी बन ही नहीं सकती थी. Now, if we eliminate statement 2, we have to mark option C because there is no other option where statement 2 is incorrect. There is only one option where statement 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 के बारे में हमको पता नहीं है. Even then, we are marking it as correct because the options have been framed in that manner by UPSC. Guys, यहाँ पर हमने statement 2 को eliminate किया. We used our pre-existing knowledge. We used our common sense. कॉमन सेंस कैसे यूज किया? इस डेट पर अगर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अडॉप्ट हुआ है तो सेम डेट पर बी आर अंबेडकर कैनॉट बी अपॉइंटेड एज चेयरमैन ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर कमिटी. सो guys, I reiterate this again and again. Please don't fall into the trap of anyone if they say that elimination skills are not relevant, logic is not relevant, common sense is not relevant in the examination or the present pattern of prelims paper. By saying this, guys, they are showing you the road to failure. Please save yourselves. And I'm taking this effort, guys, to prove before you again and again, that knowledge to matter karta hai, but your common sense will never leave you, and UPSC will never expect you to shed your common sense or logic or your basic human tendencies to eliminate something. Quickly, moving ahead, guys, we are coming to the end of the session. Okay, MCQ aptitude. Should we stick to statics or build MCQ aptitude? Who is this working world? Guys, we have just discussed this some time ago. Probably you have joined late, and we have discussed that PYQ analysis or PYQ anchoring doesn't mean that we would be doing research work on PYQs endlessly. Right? We have to move in a very rule-based manner. We have discussed that. Please go back in the session and you'll find it. Guys, again, एक बहुत ही बड़ा misconception and misguidance is there where people say that knowledge is the only key or only knowledge will help you in the prelims paper. They keep saying this on and on. Like whenever a fresher or whenever a senior aspirant tries to or talks about using their mind or solving the paper in keeping with the demand of the paper, in keeping with the trend of the paper, they come up and say, no, knowledge is the only key. सिर्फ knowledge use करो. knowledge के अलावा अगर आप कुछ use कर रहे हो, then आप तुक्के लगा रहे हो, और तुक्के यूपीएससी में नहीं लगाने चाहिए. Guys, if Captain Sullenberger would have followed the same very advice, more than 150 passengers and roughly 7 to 8 of flying crew would be dead today. I had shared this story in my last class. To very briefly sum it up, like when Captain Sullenberger and his co-pilot were flying this plane, both their engines went dead suddenly. And both the pilots were quite intelligent. They were both quite brilliant. But there was this difference between both of them. The co-pilot was relying more on his knowledge. He was opening the flying manual and trying to find out solution as to what should be done in such a situation, while Captain Sullenberger used his problem solver's mind, and he took a great risk. He landed the aeroplane on the Hudson River. That was a huge risk he took, but because of that risk that he took and because of his judgment, all the passengers and flying crew were saved on that day. Both the pilots had the same knowledge, the same pre-existing knowledge. Plane कैसे उड़ाना है दोनों को पता है, but it was Captain Sullenberger who could use his pre-existing knowledge and his human tendencies of making proper judgment, of hearing to your instinct, जो हमने यहाँ पर डिस्कस किया. eliminating the wrong options, right? Using your logic, and finally taking a decision as a human being, because we are not robots, we are not zombies. Fine. So knowledge is important, but we, in keeping with the demands of the paper 2022 2023 के अगर papers देखें, you need to be quite active in the examination hall, and you need to derive lots and lots of questions in the examination hall, like lots and lots of answers to those questions in the examination hall. सिर्फ नॉलेज के बलबूते पर हम एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में जाएंगे, वी वोंट बी एबल टू मार्क इवन 50 आंसर्स. As simple as that. Guys, those who are watching this YouTube live, or those students who will be watching this later on YouTube, guys, I would congratulate you for the fact that you stuck till this point. This shows that you are sincere in the sense that you are trying to find new insights as to how we should be developing PYQ aptitude, and how we should be using PYQ anchoring to increase our chances of scoring marks which are comfortably high above the cutoff marks, above the margin. And I sincerely hope, guys, I sincerely hope at this point, compared to when this session began, you are better informed about the right prelims approach. Now, that's my sincere hope. What is your take? Please let me know in the comment section. And if there are any other inputs, guys, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you guys when it comes to your prelims preparation. But guys, please save yourself from misguidance and misconceptions. Fine. That's an important message that I am giving today. And lastly, before I take a few questions from the chat box, guys, join my Telegram group. It's free. Like, I have not spoken about my program even a single time in this session. You can connect with me in the Telegram group. You can ping me. You can speak with me on phone. Fine. It's not compulsory that you join my program and only then I'll help you. Because of financial reasons or some other reasons, some students might not be able to join it. That's okay. But we can stay connected, and to the best of my abilities, जहां तक मैं मदद कर सकता हूं, I'll try to help you guys. Fine. Now, if there are any questions, I'll try to take those questions. If there are no questions, we'll end the session. Guys, जल्दी से chat box में questions drop करो, so that we can take those up. Okay. Dynamic Dynasty, when are you launching PYQ tricks course? सबसे पहले guys, it's not about tricks. हमने अभी डिस्कस किया है. It's not just tricks. It's basic human tendency, right? Of elimination, of having logic, of using your tactical mind. So a course has already been launched. 8th of January से उसके classes already शुरू हो चुके हैं. You can find more information about it in my Telegram group. आई होप यू आर क्लियर. डायनेमिक डायनास्टी, अच्छे अच्छे बड़े अजीब से नाम होते हैं यूट्यूब चैट बॉक्स में. गाइज, एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? क्विकली गाइज, क्विकली. टेस्ट सीरीज फ्रॉम रिसेंट पैटर्न 25 years is a must. Okay. Tarun Yadav, BBC article appears too diverse. Tarun, that's why I said it will appear very diverse. It will appear very random if you keep on doing it endlessly, or if you keep on doing it in an individual manner. That's why I emphasized of having a close-knit group of serious aspirants, or of doing it with a mentor. That's the way I do it with my team here at Civilsdaily and my students as part of the program. Any other question, guys? Any other questions? How do we evolve our strategy? Now, Nitya is asking, how do we evolve our strategy for numbers of questions to be attempted? Very good question, Nitya. Very good question. Guys, when I used to give the paper, prelims paper, I had this bad habit. It was a bad habit of solving all the 100 questions. But as the paper have evolved in the past few years, I suggest my students to solve minimum 80 questions, like they need to go above 80. Now 80 के ऊपर कितना जा रहे हैं? Are they solving 85, 90, 92? That will depend on the nature of the paper. But again, if you are solving too many questions, like 95, 100 हम solve कर रहे हैं, we are taking a lot of risk. Guys, I keep on saying that you should be taking risk to be able to clear prelims. That's correct. But undue risk beyond a certain point is certainly not advisable. Rather, it's foolishness. Also, attempting too less, if you attempt somewhere around 60, 65, 70, you are too much on the edge, guys. You are too much on the edge because you don't have scope to err. गलत मार्क करने का आपके पास स्कोप नहीं है। उन 60, 65, 70 क्वेश्चंस में से अगर कुछ 4-5 क्वेश्चंस भी ज्यादा आपके एक्सपेक्टेशन से गलत हो जाते हैं, देन यू आर डायरेक्टली आउट ऑफ द रेस। सो यू नीड टू हिट अ स्वीट स्पॉट। 80 प्लस, 80 प्लस कितना जाना है, दैट यू हैव टू डिसाइड ऑन योर ओन इन द एग्जामिनेशन हॉल, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द नेचर ऑफ द क्वेश्चन पेपर। अपकमिंग क्वेश्चन पेपर माइट बी स्लाइटली डिफिकल्ट कंपेयर टू 2023 प्रीलिम्स, और इट माइट बी इजियर, वी डोंट नो। वहीं पर डिसाइड करना होगा। ओके नित्या, शुड पीवाईक्यू एनालिसिस स्टार्ट बैकवर्ड्स फ्रॉम 2023 और स्टार्ट फ्रॉम अर्लियर इयर्स मेकिंग वे टू 2023? ओके, रिलेवेंट पॉइंट है नित्या। इट डजंट रियली मेक अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंस इफ एट द एंड 25 इयर्स के तुमको करने हैं, पीवाईक्यू एंकरिंग करनी है, पीवाईक्यू एप्टीट्यूड डेवलप करना है विद रिस्पेक्ट टू क्वेश्चन रेप्लिकेशन, you either you start from left or you start from right, doesn't really make much of a difference. But in our class we'll be starting from the left side, मतलब older papers हम पहले cover करेंगे, then we'll be coming to the recent ones. Then the next question is, sir, may I send GS PYQs in your group? Yes, you can share questions in the group. You can always have constructive discussion in the Telegram group. Solving daily 50 questions will be helpful. Who's this Pankaj? Pankaj, if you have joined late, let me reiterate this. Some students, like even some of my students, come and ask me this question, sir, should we be giving 50 MCQs daily, attempting 50 MCQs daily? कुछ स्टूडेंट्स तो ऐसा भी करते हैं और मेरी डांट खाते हैं। They tend to give one test on a daily basis, लेकिन डांट खाने के बाद वो रोक देते हैं। Guys, like we have discussed earlier, many times we have this compulsion कि बहुत ज्यादा टेस्ट अगर नहीं करेंगे तो probably we'll miss out। उस पर्टिकुलर टॉपर ने कहा था कि उसने 100, 150, 200 probably क्वेश्चन पेपर अटेम्प्ट किए हैं। Guys, मेरे बस की तो बात नहीं इतने सारे क्वेश्चन पेपर अटेम्प्ट करना। Fine. And a very logical way of looking at it is, if you are doing one test on a daily basis or even 50 questions on a daily basis, when will you have time to consolidate your basics, revise those basics, cover your current affairs, and most importantly, when will you have the time to develop your PYQ aptitude? Because ultimately, PYQ aptitude will give you the edge. We have compared tests and PYQs. Tests क्या करेंगे हमारे लिए? How will tests help us? They will help us in time management, develop time management. They will help us in avoiding silly mistakes and in other ways. But ultimately, our marks will be increased in the examination by developing our PYQ aptitude. So PYQ aptitude develop करने को precedence देना पड़ेगा। In previous slides I said past 5 year questions 500 times, not in a literal sense में 500 times मत कर लेना please, but the idea is 5 year के क्वेश्चन जो है पिछले साल के बार बार हमको गो थ्रू करना है, ग्लांस करना है, इंटरनलाइज करना है, so that even I wake you up from your sleep and if I ask you a particular question, you must be able to say that the answer to this question is likely to be this. Okay, I hope you are clear, Nitya and others. Next question. Who's this UPSC Study Studio? you're in class 9 and want to prepare for UPSC from class 10, it's too early. It's too early, man. It's too early. अभी academics पर focus करो. Class 9 में हो तुम. Academics पर focus करो. Graduation में जब आ जाओगे, then probably then you can think more seriously about preparing for civil services. Okay. Nitya, thank you for answering the question. Okay, appreciated. How many hours? Who's this Khan? How many hours will be needed, and is it still time for preparing mains or optional? Guys, it's January. We are already in January. 10 तारीख है आज जनवरी की. If you don't have a good command over prelims, like if you are a fresher और command अच्छे से नहीं है prelims के ऊपर, you cannot afford to continue with your mains or optional preparation. Fine. But if you're someone who has good command on prelims or who is relatively a senior candidate, 2 3 probably 4 attempt दे रखे हैं, so you have that cushion of simultaneously continuing with your mains prep and optional to some extent in January. So please have that distinction between a fresher and relatively a senior aspirant who has better command over prelims. Okay. Study studio, ठीक है, ये क्वेश्चन भी हमने आंसर कर दिया है. Guys, last 1 minute. If there is any question, please put it, or we can end the session. Okay, you can ping me in the Telegram group, Study Studio. Telegram group join karo. The link to join my Telegram group is given in the description box. Use that link, join the group, ping me in the Telegram group. I'll answer your queries over there. And I think all the doubts and queries have been cleared. If there are any more doubts or any more queries, please feel free to ping me in the group. Even if you are not enrolled in my program, I'll be happy to help you. Okay. Last question. ओके, आंसर राइटिंग के बारे में ये अभी डिस्कस नहीं कर सकते. टेलीग्राम में पिंग कर दो, वहां पर हम बात करेंगे. फाइन गाइस, फाइन. एंड जैसे हमने शुरुआत की थी, इस सेशन की, एंड इन द वेरी बिगिनिंग आई हैड टोल्ड दैट I sincerely wish all my students, those students part of my program, and those people watching this live, or those students will be watching this later on YouTube. This is my sincere uh, effort and sincere wish that all my students clear the prelims exam, because in the beginning I shared the stories of few of my friends, also stories of few of my students, and I understand how important it is to clear prelims and how prelims is acting as a hurdle. Like you, many among you guys, most of you guys are putting a lot of efforts, but you are not able to test yourself in the examination hall because prelims is not allowing you to reach the mains examination hall. So having started with this note, we have discussed a lot about developing our PYQ aptitude, and we have discussed a lot of points. And the session was not on Zoom, it was on YouTube, but still it was interactive. We tried to keep it engaging. I hope it was insightful for all of you guys. If there are any inputs, negative, positive, कुछ भी session अगर खराब लगा, बकवास लगा, let me know in the comment section, guys. I'll respond to you in the comment section as well. Fine, guys. Thanks for joining in. We can end it here. Goodbye. Take care.